Simply Secured, Elevating Cyber Careers is a podcast dedicated to the telling of real stories of cybersecurity practitioners. They are on the ground solving problems, leading teams, and building secure systems. Hosted by James McQuiggan at 35,000 feet, each episode features a honest, engaging conversation with someone whose work in cybersecurity might not make headlines, but makes a real impact. Hello there, and welcome to Simply Secured. I'm your host, James McQuiggan at 35,000 feet, and in today's episode, we chat with someone very well known in the Simply Cyber community. He's a regular on the Friday jaw jacking. In fact, you might have just seen him if you're watching the premiere. Of course, we're talking about Fleetus Poston III. He's a cybersecurity evangelist, a dynamic public speaker, a passionate mentor, and certainly the creative force behind his own YouTube channel where he educates and inspires others to break into and thrive in this field. It almost sounds like we're twins. Now, from defending networks to reducing risks in users, Fletus brings a unique blend of technical expertise and personal insight to everything he does. He's also recently navigated a career pivot following a reduction in force, something that he's been very candid, very upfront, and has turned it into an opportunity to uplift others. So please make sure to subscribe to this podcast. It certainly helps me, the guests, and of course, subscribing to the Simply Cyber Media Group. I hope you're seated comfortably and ready to go as we chat with Fletus here today.
Hello, my name is Fleetus Poston, and I'm excited to spend the next little bit with you sharing my knowledge and expertise and passion for cybersecurity.
Ready for takeoff.
So we're real excited. We've got Fleetus Poston here with us today, and actually Fleetus Poston III, but I'll let him kind of give some more insights on that. So welcome to the show, Fleetus. Real excited that you're here joining us.
A pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Cool. So I'm kind of curious. A lot of people always talk about, how'd you get in cybersecurity? And we've already done that, I think, on LinkedIn and in the Simply Cybersecurity world. But I think for folks that's real interesting to share is, what was your aha moment? What was that light bulb that went off that made you realize, yeah, cybersecurity is where I want to be?
Sure. So I had the pleasure of doing a part-time security role during my undergrad. I'd always had an interest in the components of a computer, what a computer is, how a computer works. But it wasn't until the visiting instructor actually shared the hands-on experience. Well, many of us have heard the academic piece, we've heard the stories, we've read the articles, but until we actually were able to touch equipment. So it's going to sound strange, but I installed Gen 2 on an appliance, and I'm like, I never want to do this again. But at the same time, I got to see what the intrusion detection system's backend OS looked like. So I knew the hardware that it was running on, I knew the OS it was running on, and then I got to run an intrusion detection system as a young 20-year-old, still cutting my teeth. So being able to see the OS, see the hardware for the first time, what does hardware look like? Yes, people used to run software on hardware. It wasn't always SaaS. And then being able to actually see that users will do anything and everything on their corporate device very early on in my career. So that's kind of the backstory of how the itch came back. After being able to play with hardware, interact with computers.
And you've been in cybersecurity for a number of years. As I was looking over your LinkedIn profile and looking through YouTube videos that you've put out there and other information, and how we've met and run into each other at several conferences, I almost feel like I'm looking in a bit of a mirror. Which is pretty funny, because one of the things that is on your LinkedIn profile that I was particularly drawn to was you listed yourself as an evangelist, a cybersecurity evangelist. And I think we all need to be cybersecurity evangelists. We want to get people thinking smarter or thinking about cybersecurity. But for you, what does that role of a cybersecurity evangelist look like to you day to day? What inspired you to go on that path?
So for those who've been around me, you're going to hear the same story again. But I think security starts from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed. It applies to every single one of us. We're inundated in 2025 with notifications, either on our tablets, our smartphones, our computers. and even the spam calls and texts that we get day in and day out. So it's important to educate everyone, your neighbor, your grandparents, your relatives, the line of businesses you work with who think cyber's not part of their job, that we are, as people, the primary attack vector. You'll hear many people say the weakest link, and I know James will attest that that's not really the case. We are a weak link, but we are not the weakest link. We are usually the primary attack vector. Actually, we are the primary attack vector. So it's important for us as humans, as people, to realize that security is part of our life now. It's not something we bolt on. So to be honest, I hate saying I do cyber. Cyber just happens to be in the title.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're in and around cyber all the time and dealing with that. And you bring up the concept of, it's from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep. And even then, that's our waking hours. But I know that we're always getting emails when we're sleeping and things are going on when that's happening. But when we talk about the human, and you're talking about the human being the weakest link, the primary attack vector, being a weak link, they are the biggest attack vector and definitely have to be a part of the cybersecurity program, even though you get people that may not want to be part of that. So what we really need is that, as you've said, and you've talked about it in your videos, a security culture, or as we look at it with the human risk management overall. What does a healthy security culture look like, and how do we instill that within our organizations?
So the best way to think about it is, what is culture first off? What are you trying to establish? What do you want the mood, the attitude, the persona to be for your organization, or just in general to stay with culture? Are you looking for a fun night out? So is this an outgoing where you want parties and lights and splash? Are you conservative where it needs to be black and white? Once you identify what your culture is, then you know how to educate. Then you know how to enter the room. I'm not going to walk into a conservative meeting in shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, but I may do that in an outgoing culture where my sandals are fine. So learning first to establish what your culture is. Second is just helping everyone understand that we're peers. So don't say my end user fell for this. Don't say this idiot or whatever term you want to use fell for something. Say my peer. And it literally say my peer fell for this. And then if you can share, I personally, as your security leader, have also almost or have been caught by a phishing text, a drive-by attack, or anything else that you want to educate them on. Because when you're relatable, you're approachable. And security needs to be approachable. We don't want to be known as the no organization. Good friend of mine, Russell Eubank, says know your no. So KNOW, know why you're saying no. And then another thing I like to tell people, no and yes are complete sentences, but don't have to be. It's good to say no, but or yes, but when you're educating your friends, your family, and your coworkers.
You mentioned Russell Eubanks and his, know your nose, and I can certainly agree to that. And, know your nose, know your audience. You're certainly talking about that with the conservatism, showing up. And, there are some days where, yeah, we just want to show up in flip flops and a Hawaiian shirt. We know that we can go to our board of directors, we can go to our CISO, our executives, and we can talk with them about it. But far too often I've seen it where, yeah, we go and talk to them, we get them convinced, and they're like, yep, go do it. But then we struggle with middle management. We struggle with other leaders in your organizations. How do you address that to them to get it culture to be important without going, the boss said so?
Yeah, so the biggest way is return on investment. So use business acumen. Another quote from Russell is, you have to be bilingual. You have to be able to talk business and cyber at the same time. So being able to take it to them and their investment. So if you know they have a metric or KPI, so key performance indicator, that they're trying to address, share how security can enable that. Once you give them a value add or business acumen piece, they're generally more open to listen to. And they've also taken their guard down when they know you're there to partner with them, not to mandate. So you already said it's the top down. You need top down, and you have buy-in from the top down, but you need to make it feel like, and this is the social engineering thing, which is good and bad. You need to social engineer them into believing that it's their idea to do this. And social engineering is not always bad, folks. Like, it's called sales. End of the day, it sells in marketing. That's all social engineering really is. It sells in marketing. We just put a negative spin on the term because of what the mainstream media has called social engineering. But being able to share with them, hey, I can help your developers have less dependency findings if you let me run a spot check or a dependency check. at this stage in your process. For engineering team, if you can run infrastructure as code, you're going to have less config drift, which means you're going to have less patching, which means you're going to have more time to do your engineering work and not have to do the patch management. All of these things resonate when you say that you're giving them time back, because we all know in 2025 time is of the essence and it's very valuable. But on the flip side, I want people to slow down. And that's not a term that you're going to hear from security folks all the time. You will, but you're not. It's okay to put your hands behind your back for 5 seconds and count before you click on that phishing email, answer that phone call, or download that piece of software from a random website or ad that you came up to. Because you slowing down allows you as the human again to process. We're not as fast as a computer. We don't have the processing power of a computer. We actually do, but because we try to multi-thread, we don't. We think we can multitask. We cannot. We fall very susceptible to phishing, drive-bys, notifications, one-time prompts. But again, going back to my security is all day long. You can roll over at 3 o'clock in the morning. Your phone's buzzing. You're just trying to shut it up, and you immediately accept a push notification. You roll back over, go back to sleep. You just gave the adversary X amount of hours to free reign in your game because you just went back to sleep, but you acknowledged the MFA because they scraped your password from a pastebin or a leaked credential site.
Yeah, no, that's certainly it's always a scary thought that, you're trying to fall back to sleep, it's 3 in the morning and your phone buzzes. For me, I leave my phone in the kitchen. So that way I can I disconnect every night.
Yeah, another one too, right there before we dive into something else.
Sure.
If you are doing push notifications, which I advise you to probably change to a challenge response where you're putting in a number, watch who has your phone. I have two proud interns, aka my kids. They're 8 and 10. If they're on the phone with grandma or their grandfather or their aunt and their uncle, and a push notification comes on my phone, they're going to try to swipe it away. And if they don't swipe it away, they may acknowledge it. I'm out back grilling. I don't know that my kids just acknowledged an MFA push on my phone because I'm out there grilling lunch or dinner. And now all of a sudden, I'm getting notifications on my smartwatch, on my thing that something just happened. I'm at that point going to go in and ask, hey, can I have my phone back? But I don't know how long the adversary has had a chance. So when you give your phone away, maybe set some precedents. Don't acknowledge anything. Don't swipe anything away. Let your kids know. Let your friends know if you happen to share your phone, because that is a real risk, folks. That you can get a push notification if you're using that you acknowledge it when you try to swipe it off your phone. So security awareness tip 101, while we're talking about culture, that's something else I'll share with people is protect your assets, even from your friends and family, because they're not doing it. That's the unintentional insider versus the intentional insider risk.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, when you give your kids your phone, you never know what they may click on or swipe into or whatever else. So there's always that risk. It just kind of like even at work. You were talking about ROI, return on investment when it talks to that middle management, and that's key. And Russell's right. You got to talk both languages. Thinking in that perspective, is there a particular KPI, key progress indicator, or several KPIs that you like to leverage when it comes to monitoring and measuring security culture?
Yeah, so this one's going to sound a little strange, but I actually want to know which department is reporting the most because it gives me an idea to know that I need to either train more or less because either they're over reporting because they don't have the proper training or they're reporting correctly. So like that's really a metric. The KPI is how many of those led to a new detection. Like was we able to remediate something? So that gets into your detection engineering. So that's a good metric of taking report rate and then being able to turn around and say, okay, we were able to mitigate this new threat because our detection engineering was able to scrub this out. Another one is your help desk or service desk. Do they understand the escalation to engage an incident? So do like running the IRP. How many times has a help desk analyst been able to get to the SOC so that the SOC can run their incident response and tracking that back to the individual and then giving kudos? So it's a metric turned into a key performance indicator again that our service desk, our front line, was able to mitigate an attack because they promptly followed their playbook and sent it to the SOC or gave the user the proper password reset and still engage the SOC. Because I think that's another thing that people forget. It's not just mortem. It's great to catch the mortem, but what happened pre and post mortem? So to use medical terms, I want to know what happened before the phishing attack and I want to know what happened after the click because I may have blocked a click, but someone else could have they could have had a drive-by where they downloaded a piece of software previously from the web, which let them know that this is an active account because they logged in with an email, and then they got the phishing attack. So they downloaded a piece of software, but they didn't click on the phishing email. So getting the full picture pre-mortem and post-mortem as a security operations person is imperative to me, because you don't want to just say, okay, I blocked that, but what else got around it? Because that's the analogy of the castle or the house. I may lock the front door, but you came in through the window, or you came in through my back door, or the with the castle, you shot an arrow in, but I blocked you with the moat. Like, there's multiple ways in, and you got to know how did they get in, and what did you actually block and tackle.
No, I can certainly attest the castle analogy, the home analogy, the car analogies, they all work because people are familiar with them, and it helps us drive that point that much further home and get people to understand. So we're talking, and with our homes and with castles, comes defense, and we're defending our home. We can put bars up. We have the cameras outside. We have the motion sensor lights, monitoring systems. Heck, even a beware of dog sign in the front window goes a long way, even though you own 3 cats. But anyway, enough about my cats. So looking at defense, and I know that's something that you've worked in before, where do you see as a common blind spot that a lot of organizations have when it comes to defense?
So I'm going to trick you up a little bit. It's that people, process, and technology piece. I have millions of dollars in technology and tens of thousands in process, but I spend hundreds of dollars on people. So you get the common question, hey, you should have blocked that because I know that you have a firewall, or you have an intrusion detection system, or you have whatever piece of an XDR, whatever you want to call it. Our end users don't know the names of our technologies, but they know that we have a security stack, and they know that we have depth and defense because we told them we have depth and defense. So you're going to get the user or the leader. I just gave you $1 million last quarter. Why did this still get in? And it goes that there's the triad of people, process, and technology, that we don't spend the right amount of money on people, process, and technology. Because your administrative controls are great, your technical controls are needed, but you still got the person. Going back to the person, they need to be able to spot, stop, assess, and be able to respond. And responding is where I think most organizations don't give them the money or the time. They don't train them. They don't give them the tools. They don't know how to report and how to respond and how to mitigate themselves. Because there's some things users can do themselves. It could be simply not installing that plugin, even though they have the ability to. It could be not downloading from downloads.com, and instead of going into their software center, or they're having their MDM, their managed detection, their MDM, so they're monitoring tools, so your interns, your con user, et cetera, who can push it to you. So you have a service to. That's the simplest way, is the people knowing that they have a tool to push the software, or they have a tool to not put that plugin in place for visualization because they just want to integrate their Tableau dashboards into Google Docs.
You hit on the triad, the people, process, and technologies, and we're spending millions on technology, we're spending thousands on processes, and then hundreds on the people, which is always for me is kind of where I stand as well. But is there any defense technology that's out there that has got you excited or got you interested with regards to being able to defend in cyberspace?
So I'm going to be the person who's slightly on the fence, and I'm straddling both. I believe that what we've been doing with machine learning, when you put generative AI on top of it now, is going to be a game changer. So don't hear me that I think AI is replacing our defenses. I think it's going to augment AI and the machine learning that's already been in our tools, which is what we would call AI since the 40s. It's the machine learning piece, is a tool in our toolbox. So when you're talking about tools, it's a tool in the toolbox. You're going to see RAG, generative AI, you're going to see large language and small language models being added to tools to quickly process and give you data. On the flip side, I do see it augmenting and possibly getting rid of knowledge-based work. Like if it can learn the knowledge-based article and its straightforward steps, that's going to remediate. So it's going to block an IP for me. It's going to pull the email for me. I'm not going to have a user go in and manually push out an IP block or a domain block or pull emails anymore. The tools will do this for me because it's such a regimented process that when this triggers because it was found on a threat intel platform that we trust, it goes ahead and pushes it to the firewall. Or if it finds a hash, the name of a file from a computer term on a box, it goes ahead and quarantines it or sanitizes it or does something else to allow the users to still interact with it, but it actually That's where I think is the new. It's been in our tools, so don't. This is not bleeding edge, but the fact that it's maturing now, and organizations are starting to realize that the big scary generative AI is here to stay, and can still be scary if not properly contained, but it's here to stay. So just go ahead and learn it, because I always tell people AI is not going to replace you; it's going to replace the people not using it.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting that statement. AI won't replace you. Somebody that is or knows about AI, and now we're seeing a lot more with agentic AI handling a lot more tasks and making decisions. I still think that human has to be in there. And that's really good advice. And I think that's one of the things that you do really well that I've seen is providing advice, providing that mentorship, and a lot of the up and coming professionals, either that we see in Team Simply Cyber or when we go to conferences and those kind of things. But is there a common challenge that you're seeing those up and comers facing? And then is there any tips or tricks that you provide them to help them with that?
Yeah, so I think all of us face this. It's called imposter syndrome. I don't know enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not experienced enough. And some of that is the market. The market has done this to us. When I say the market, it's the way our HR teams have built job descriptions. It's the way organizations talk about their roles. It's the way hiring managers sometimes interview entry level or mid level individuals, because it goes back to a curse of knowledge issue. So people again who've heard me, we assume that you have a baseline knowledge. Well, cyber is now a multi-generational field. There are folks who've done cyber information security, data security, whatever term you want to do, almost 40 to 50 plus years, and they're still working. Some of those 50 plus are now aging out. The 40 years are coming. But then you've got the people who've really done what we call cybersecurity for the last 15, 20 years. Our vernacular and lexicon is different. So it comes back to a curse of knowledge. So I always tell my mentors, my mentees, help me understand what is the lexicon for the line of business or industry you want to work in. Because if you could sound like them in an interview, they see you as a peer. So I tell them to play the long game. Pick 3 to 5 companies you want to work for, learn everything you can about them, follow their press releases, follow them on LinkedIn, watch when people get hired, connect with them so that when you're talking with those companies, you sound like an employee. Hey, I saw that Sally got a promotion. Hey, congratulations on your Series B funding. Hey, great opportunity to clean up the streets after the last hurricane. You sound like someone who's inside the 4 walls, virtually or physically, because you're able to talk about promotions of employees, what the business is doing, aka their series funding, and then third, their philanthropy event. You're going to get a lot of organizations when you talk about their philanthropy because they need it. They want it. They want people, they want to be known as an organization who's giving back to the communities in which they live in. It'll score you some points when you talk about those 3 pillars. So understand what their people are doing, what the organization's doing, and how the organization's giving back.
And that is fantastic advice for anybody looking to get work that's out there and everything else. Where do you find is the best medium to share your wisdom, share those tips and tricks?
So largely it's LinkedIn. So if anyone's followed me for any length of time, you'll realize I've done a food for thought series probably for almost 3 years now. And then about 7 months ago, so November, December, so we're probably 6 months ago, I turned it into a video blog. So I've now put these food for thoughts into video captures of me for about a minute to 3 minutes long that I've been uploading to a YouTube channel that I started at the end of 24. Additionally, I put up about 20-minute presentations on topics that either I just talked to a mentee about, that I'm currently building for a conference that I'm going to, or an internal presentation that I'm giving to my colleagues. So those Monday events that again, they're 10 to 30 minutes long are quick briefings that I've done to do massive mentoring. Otherly, I had a Calendly invite out there that I publicly gave out to folks to allow them to grab 30 minutes of my time. And 95% of the time, I kept that meeting, maybe 98% of the time. And it was mainly so that they could have 30 minutes to do whatever they want. It was an AMA. I'm here to coach. I'm here to be a shoulder. I'm here to be something for you. And people are like, how do you have time for that? Well, that was my advocate to get out of the burn of cyber. Because if, for those who've been in this field, have been in this since '07, it's easy to get burned out. So having avenues to listen to someone who's up and coming, mentoring someone who's struggling or looking to change roles, or we're going to talk about this, who just got caught up in a reduction in force opportunity. What do they do next? Because Again, that just happened to me. My identity can be in my job. It's not my only identity, but I have a very strong presence, going back to that evangelist, who wants to know, what does Fleetus think professionally? Being able to talk professionally and personally about no longer having a job, being able to talk about how you can still give back even if you don't clock in as a full-time employee, going back to, I'm still a security practitioner, I'm still a security evangelist, even if I don't have a formal title right now. So that's the importance, is finding, to recap all this, I publish a decent amount of material on LinkedIn. I have a stream on YouTube with a lot of series of thoughts. A lot of them are food for thought, cyber awareness tips. And then I have a small series of presentations to allow people to say, that's great, I can take that back. So it's being able to take that micro learning, yes, they're a little long, but they can turn into micro learnings if they want, and say, I'm just going to focus on one slide that Fleetus talked about during my next staff meeting. Because that's where I think a lot of people can do this, is if you're in a regulated place, you have a safety moment in some of your stand-ups. Have a cyber moment. This is what a phishing email looks like. Don't pay the toll text that you're getting right now, because I know you didn't run a toll. The IRS really doesn't want you to send them a gift card right now, et cetera, et cetera.
So you've got the cybersecurity food for thought, the great little short blurbs, and then I noticed you had cyber banter, which looked like it was more longer interviews with people, which was great. We're going to touch upon the reduction in force that's impacting you here in just a little bit, but is there any thought of other content that you'd like to put on that YouTube channel?
So I recently started my Saturday morning sip. So I take a moment to help people like ourselves. So we work hard Monday through Friday, some of us Monday through Sunday. But on Saturday and Sunday, we're generally working less, or we're more relaxed. So my series that I've been doing probably for the last month or two on the cyber SIP and security is, like you already said, the adversary is going 24/7. Yes, some of them are nation state, they work 8 to 5 like we do, but a lot of them are still going to try to target you on Friday night, Saturday morning, or Sunday, because your guard is down, or likely could be down. And it's okay for your guard to be down, but you also have to remember security is 24/7. So that's another series. The other one, for the banter piece, I started bringing in mentees. Just another thing that I did with Appalachian State here in North Carolina is we ran a 4-month webinar series. So we let 9 students do presentations. They did one a month. The last round we just did, we're sending one of those students to HughesCon in September to present. We got them a speaking spot. So that was another way to give back, is allowing them to take topics. Sometimes we chose, they chose, and we gave them a 20-minute slot to speak. And they did 4 rounds of it. The last round was the one we chose. So that was another avenue to mentor, because they got to do public speaking. I got to learn new stuff, because when students research, or anyone researches and presents, you're now an SME. Even if you don't know that, you become the SME when you're presenting, and you learn something. So I learned something from these juniors and seniors who are presenting these topics, who were part of our webinar series. So I've been inviting them on. I had one of them already do his presentation on quantum cryptography on my banter. I'm planning to bring another one in and just do like a panel on what was the experience like to do a series. So like maybe turning this into, let my mentees tell you how the life of a mentee works, versus just hearing, go be a mentor, go be a mentee. Because I think everyone should. No matter if you've been in the field 1 day or 30 years, your life experiences is what makes you a valuable mentor. I don't care if you're 12 or if you're 104.
Yeah, when you're mentoring, you're bringing a certain set of experience, skills, and if you're 12, it could be how you've designed something in Minecraft or Roblox or whatever it may be that other people aren't know. You're sharing a part of you, and mentoring is
Yeah, that's that reverse mentorship. I come to you. So like I would come to James right now for deep fix. That's something he spent a lot of time on. Well, James might come to me on content engineering or security operation. We just set up a reverse mentorship where we're both mutually bringing something to the relationship. And then generally, I'll tell you, most of the time when that's happened, it becomes friendships. It's not no longer that mentor-mentee relationship. It's an acquaintance who turns into a friend, who turns into likely either an employer, an employee, or a partner at some point in your career as well.
we've created essentially what you call a friend ISAC, an information sharing and analysis center, right? We're constantly sharing information and conversations back and forth. And I'm sure we'll probably have many more conversations in the coming months, but with this, you mentioned with regards to the RIF, the reduction in force that happened in your organization. What has that done to you? How are you doing emotionally, professionally? Do you feel that there's a certain level of resiliency for you? And kind of how's that impacting your confidence?
Yeah, so it's pretty fresh. A lot of it is you have the roller coaster of emotions, which I just spoke with my wife about last night. And this is where a support system comes in. I have strong friends and family, and I have strong industry professionals who are in my corner. James is one of them. I reached out to James in the community I was in very quickly after I found out about it, just to inform them, hey, I'm part of this and I'll keep you abreast. That's all I asked. I didn't ask them to find me a job. I didn't want them to find me a job. Same thing with my wife. My wife's like, hey, we're fine. Just take your time, figure this out. So it's the summer months. This will air at the end of this, but I'm going into the summer. I have the ability to reflect on what do I want to do next? How do I want to do it? Where do I want to do it? And is this the right roles to continue to do? So I've been in cyber defense pretty much since '07. Is it time to pivot? Is it time to do something else? I have that opportunity right now to do that. I'm sitting here with James right now, giving back, even though I shouldn't, but I am because it goes back to that evangelist that this is an outlet again for me to make sure that this is going to happen to you at some point in your career. Either you directly or someone very close to you is going to be impacted by a reduction in force. Don't give up. Go find your support system, both personally and professionally, and just let them know, hey, I'm here. I've already told people because I was one of 11 in my organization. So during that, I was able to say, let me know if you need anything because I'm still going to be an advocate for them just because we're out. And even the people that I left behind, thank you. Let me know how I can help you. I left cordially. I told them that I'm still here. And this was not a firing. This is a elimination of position. Don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. Because again, as I joked a second ago, you will more than likely work with them, for them, or partner with them at some point again in your career. This field is so small. There's only a few million of us globally. And if you're here in the US, it's less. You're going to interact with these individuals, men, women, again, at some point in your career, either as a peer, they're either going to work with you or for you, or they're going to be a direct partner or competitor of yours that you need to be cordial with.
Yeah, you never want to be burning bridges. So, yeah, it's never easy when it comes to a riff, and you want to leave on good terms as if you were going off to do another job overall anyway. You talked about the community, and that kind of brings back to networking. You never know who you're going to meet one day, who's going to help you get a job down the line. And I think that the communities that we're a part of can certainly help us with guiding that journey for us, guiding us to that next location. So hopefully this downtime isn't as long as you hope it to be and it goes quicker. But I think it's important that you're taking the time to do some reflection. You have that opportunity. We're very successful and well compensated for the most part in our careers that, okay, if I lose my job, I can go a few months. I mean, we saw so many rifts last year, reductions in forces with so many tech companies and so many people that I knew losing their job and them taking 6 months or taking a few months just to kind of reground themselves, take a deep breath and get through it. You kind of shared some insights with us about tips and tricks, certainly take the time overall. Has there been anything surprising about what's happened that you didn't expect?
To be honest, again, I alluded this. When I walked away from that computer the last time, knowing that they were going to wipe it, as soon as I walked away from it, because I work for a fully remote company, so I didn't have to walk in and turn the laptop in. The laptop is still on my desk. It's in a locked state right now. They're allowing me to keep it. So I will get them to unlock it. They'll de-enroll it. It'll be mine, but it will be wiped. So for anyone who's done a job and you've worked remotely, you always know intuitively this laptop will be here when I come back. The work will be here. That email will be here. Something will be there. So when I stood up and walked out of my office when it was stand down time, that was when there was a flood of emotion for me. Because it's like, I just lost that connection. So think about it this way. It's like the light switch just turned off and you know it won't turn back on. Every other time, every time you hit that light switch, that light's going to come on. It's that guaranteed light switch on, lights on, light switch off, lights off. When I walked away for that moment, I knew that switch wouldn't turn back on. No matter how many times I touched that, turn that power on, that was a surreal moment for me because I had spent almost 3 years with this organization. So that means there's a lot of blood, sweat, tears, excitement, joy, roller coasters that hit me as I walked out of my home office. Luckily, again, as soon as I walked through that door, look who's there, my wife and kids. and I had the opportunity to immediately go do something with my kids. So it was like a perfect storm. As soon as I walked out of the office, 30 minutes later, I'm in the car with my kids to go do something that we already pre-planned. It was pre-planned to go do this activity. It wasn't like I added it. It was already there. And boom, for the next 2.5 hours after this event, I'm sitting with my kids doing something they love and watching them be excited. Emotion turned from joy, anger, sadness to joy again, because now I'm back in a place where I'm the father. I'm loving on my kids and then watching them experience something that they both enjoy.
It goes full circle. And you're going back to your favorite job, really, right? Being a father. And I can certainly attest to that. Wow. Well, that's been a lot of information to share. And I know the riff is certainly something that folks are going to want to hear about. I'm going to hit you with a barrage of questions. You give me the first thing that comes to mind. First question. If cybersecurity is an animal, what is it?
Let's go with a cheetah.
Cheetah. All right. What's your favorite word in cybersecurity?
Ooh, let's go human-centric.
Human-centric. Okay. What would be your least favorite word?
Weakest link.
Right there with you. Yep. All right. This is utopia magic wand time. If you could fix one thing in cybersecurity and it's gone away forever, what would it be?
Phishing.
Phishing. All right. What would you say is your favorite cybersecurity tool?
CyberChef.
CyberChef. Oh, yeah. That's a lot of fun to play with. What about a favorite? It could be cybersecurity, could be personal, business, whatever. But what's your favorite cybersecurity book?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
This is going to be, I'm more of a podcaster, audio thing. Like there's some books sitting on my desk that I could probably pull out, and I don't want to accredit because a lot of those are friends' books. So I'm just not going to choose a book. I don't want to throw a friend under the bus here.
All right. That's fine. No worries. Getting away from a little bit from cybersecurity, and you kind of are in this position a little bit, but what profession other than cybersecurity would you like to attempt?
I would probably keep it similar to where I'm at. I would just do public speaking. I would go out and just do education. I would go do talks at probably youth camps to start with, high school, and then get back into the adult. I'd like to, yeah.
Cool. No, that's great. That's great. So on the flip side of that, what profession would you not want to do?
I am not good at medical. You don't want me to be your nurse or your doctor. I don't need to be in there doing that.
Fluids and blood. No thanks. I got you. So here's a fun one. This is one of my favorite ones. If there was a sandwich to be named after you, Fleetus Poston III, what would be in it? What are the ingredients?
It would probably be some alternative of a Philly with spicy chicken on like a rosemary bread. Yeah.
There you go. A chicken steak on rosemary bread. All right. There we go.
I don't know what toppings I'd put in there. It'd probably be something spicy just to be to keep
Spicy.
with the
That's
theme.
right. Yeah. It's a little Tabasco sauce or hot sauce in there.
Chipotle mayo, sriracha. I don't care.
There you go. Cool. What would you say is the worst job you've ever had? Don't mention the company. Just what's the worst job you've ever had?
Dishwashing. To wash dishes.
Been there, done that. You can only have 3 apps on your smartphone. What do you have?
Because I am me, I'm going to have Discord, probably Slack, and then the last one's going to be a devotional app so that I can continue to ground myself.
Very good. Nice. If you could ask one person, one question, and they can be alive or passed on, and they had to answer truthfully, who and what would you ask?
Oh, this is going to go personal. I would probably pick a grandparent and ask them what it was like to be alive in the era that they lived in.
That's cool. I like that. If you could fly anywhere in the world, first class, money no object, where are you flying to?
That's tricky. I got multiple in my mind. Germany's one of them, just because that's one I go sit there. The other one would be like Melbourne. I'd like to go down them.
Yeah. Very cool. What do you see as the biggest threat in the next 10 years?
Complacency of individuals. I think we've gotten numb to critical thinking. We rely on instantaneous. I mean, we could say we were the microwave culture before. I think we're really a microwave culture today where we don't want to spend more than 3 seconds to a minute on a task. So we're going to take shortcuts. So we're going to be complacent. I think the latter part of that is we've given up privacy. We've given up data security because we just like, oh, well, my parents gave away everything about me when I was a kid. I've given everything about me because I sit here and talk on podcasts 4 days a week, 5 days a week, and I've shared everything about my life. My voice is out there. They're going to deep clone me. I'm going to have a deep fake of me tomorrow. My kids are never going to know it's me. It's like an Eeyore moment for those who know Winnie the Pooh. But at the same time, we're not doing anything to change it. We just accepted that I've given my entire life to the world. And yes, there's services out there that can delete me if they wanted to. But why? The more I think about why, like it's just who I am now. So it's that complacency and data privacy concern.
Well, I can't believe we've already come to the end of our time here on the episode, but it has been great having you. But I do have one last question for you, and that is, what do you want your legacy in cybersecurity to be?
That's a good one again. And I think I said this. I want my mentees to feel like they've been able to succeed and not become a clone of me. I don't want to produce clones. I want to make sure that they understand the value add of me sharing what it was like for me to be in the ditch and how I got out of it, what it was like for me to go through a rift and come out of it, what it was like for me to change careers and change industries and get through it so that they can see that it is possible. It does take some hard work. Not everything is easy, but I also want to save them from some of the worry, anxiety, imposter syndrome. So that's what my legacy be is Fleetus helped me through that, even if he never said a word to me because of my LinkedIn's, my videos, these type of events, just the text message of encouragement of how are you? You're going to be fine.
And those are excellent words to end on. Any final thoughts before we close out?
Again, find a mentor, be a mentor, connect with people, share your knowledge freely. Don't look for anything in return. It's very cheap and easy to come up to someone and say, hey, do you have a one-time code on your email? Do you have the next time you're in an Uber? Funny story, real quick. I found out what her day job was. She's a dental hygienist. So we went into the analogies of why do you brush and floss? It's preventative maintenance. So I advised MFA, multi-factor preventative maintenance. So being able to relate things back to people, and that's where the evangelist comes back in. Just being able to share stories, because stories go a long way. Don't just use the lexicon of technology. I used MFA, but I didn't start with MFA. I talked about preventative maintenance because of brushing and flossing.
Yeah, that all about, that preventive maintenance that we need to do in our own cyber hygiene within ourselves, our own personal data, but of course within our organizations as well. Fleetus, it has been a joy. It's been a lot of fun chatting with you here today. I know I will probably see you at Simply CyberCon, probably the next CISO Masterminds or wherever, but I wish you good luck in your RIF, your downtime with the RIF, the job hunting that goes with it, and I have no doubt that we'll see you back out somewhere evangelizing and defending organizations all around. So thanks again, Fleetus. And folks, don't forget, you can check out the connections to Fleetus, his LinkedIn, his website, his YouTube, where you can watch all the great videos about him. And of course, you can catch him on Discord over at Team Simply Cyber on the Simply Cyber Discord channel. So thanks again, everybody, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for stopping by.